Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Golf Chat Show Live. Once again, thank you for the support. Thank you for all the comments on last night's video. It was definitely a funny one for you all to watch. Today, we've got Neil Tappin, digital editor from Golf Monthly, and we're going to focus on some main topics today of the Ryder Cup. How do you select your team and who goes in it? The Masters and the schedule that the PGA Tour have released. Welcome to the show, Neil.
Hello, Alex. Good to be here.
How are you doing? How are you keeping?
All right. Yeah, looking after two kids while trying to keep down a job with a wife who's also working. It's got its challenges, but everyone's got their own challenges. Don't worry about me. I'm all right.
Good. For people who maybe don't know, we do a lot of content together. Neil produces all the content, or a lot of the content for Golf Monthly, and I sometimes collab with him. So I will leave some links down below if you want to check all that out on the Golf Monthly channel. There's equipment reviews, there's instruction content that we've done together, and some pieces on the course.
Yes. Yeah, lots of stuff, Alex.
So to start with, since it should be Masters Week and we should be watching live on the range right now, that's my usual routine once it gets to Masters Week. I want you to tell me your favourite Masters moment.
My favourite Masters moment would be when Nick Faldo beat Greg Norman in the final round in '96. I think it came, I would have been, at that time, so it's my birthday tomorrow. That's another thing to say.
Happy
Sorry,
birthday.
just to drop that in.
Happy birthday for tomorrow.
Thank you. Now, I share my birthday with the late, great Seve Ballesteros.
Right.
It's a fact. It's a coincidence, nothing more, obviously.
No,
anyone has ever seen me chip will know. But yeah, so it's always my birthday during Augusta. So it's always, for me, it's even more the best time of the year, because not only is it on. I remember 96 Masters. I would have been 15 years old. So, fully capable of watching it and remembering it. But it was probably one of the first 4 or 5 Masters that I really remember. And I remember going into the final round. Faldo was my favourite player growing up, always the one that I was following and thinking, he's got half a chance here. This will be interesting to see how it goes. And then as the day went on, it was just a shot here and a shot there and a shot there through the front 9. He got closer and closer and closer. And it was just phenomenal. And in those days, don't forget, Alex, in those days, it wasn't as if British sports fans had a regular roll call of major, not just in golf, but in other sports as well. We just didn't have the depth of sporting talent that we seem to now. When you saw, the London Olympics in 2012, we won as many or more medals than the whole of Australia. It wasn't always like that. And in those days in particular, we didn't have a kind of a massive roll call of contenders and possible winners. It was phenomenal. It went on late into the night, and you just felt like watching it. You just felt like Faldo was the kind of the sporting hero that had the whole package, the full mental game. He had complete control over his long game. He knew exactly where the ball was going. He wasn't the longest, but he was just so clinical in all areas of the game. So yeah, that would be my favourite Masters moment.
You have to forgive me here. Is this before he remodeled his swing, Faldo?
Yeah, no. Well after. This was I think it was the last one. Yeah, it's the last one that he won. And I think it's fair to say that he was probably a little bit. He certainly wasn't at his peak, should we say? And so you might have thought, his sort of time at the top has kind of come towards an end. So he was definitely the finished article, but whether he had the same hunger as he had 10 years earlier, I don't think he did. But he always knew what he was doing around Augusta. He's one of these people that, so many players, once they get to grips with it, they are a consistent contender at Augusta. Faldo was one of those. And for anyone watching this who saw it, I'm sure they'll agree with me. It was phenomenal.
So, you're getting quite a few comments on here saying Faldo and Norman, just quality. So yeah. I'm gonna have to rewatch that, because I obviously knew that he won, but I've not seen that duel like you're describing.
No, and also, Alex, a massive shout out to Greg Norman as well, because that must have been brutal, because his game slightly, he didn't crumble under pressure. It wasn't like a complete choke, but it wasn't great. He didn't play brilliantly at all. He had a big lead at the start of the day, and it sort of slowly frittered away. But he just, at the end, he just came across like the consummate sportsman. He came across as somebody who just was able to take it on the chin as one of those days, and he dealt with it incredibly well. He came across brilliantly, and so any Australians who might be watching this, it's a tough one to swallow. But rest assured that Norman came out as a true sportsman at the end of it, I thought.
Okay, so if the Masters went on this week, and I actually asked Mike, who came on the show the other day, who's also from Golf Monthly, I believe that Rory being number one, looking in great form, that potentially this was his year to fulfill that career Grand Slam. And I also think that no matter if he wins maybe another 2-3 majors, whether it be US Open, US PGA, or the Open, if he doesn't complete the career Grand Slam, I think personally he'll feel like his career wasn't as successful as he wanted. What do you think? Do you think he could have won this year?
Oh, for sure, he can win any year. He's definitely got the game for it. The issue, without a question of a doubt, is whether or not it's becoming this chip on the shoulder, this big thing, this kind of baggage that he has to deal with. And strangely, I'll put this to you, Alex, the fact that this year's Masters might, hopefully, fingers crossed, get played in November. Fingers crossed, come on. It might well work in his favour. And it will work in his favour because usually what we have is this big, I don't know how long it is between the final major of the year, the Open, and the Masters, say 6 months or so. Big lead up where everyone is talking about Rory. Can he do it? And he just arrives at Augusta with so much pressure on his shoulders. And you saw what happened to him at Portrush. He really wanted it at Portrush. And the only thing that stopped him winning at Portrush was just the burden he was placing on himself, I think. And I think it's a little bit like that at Augusta. It's becoming this big thing that he clearly desperately wants to do it. And if it happens this year in November, they will have had this run of US Open, US PGA, US Open, Ryder Cup into the Masters. Perhaps that's the way to do it. The storylines going into Augusta might be somebody else might have had a great year, might be going for a third major or something. Who knows? So, could Rory win at Augusta? Definitely. Does he maybe need to have a slightly different approach just to find a way of relaxing into the tournament? Possibly. But if you ask me, I think he'll get there one day for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, his game is set up for that. High ball flight, draws the golf ball, can move the golf ball both ways, stellar short game. The only thing that I worry about, and the only thing, obviously, I'm never going to say he's a mediocre putter, but I classify him when I'm watching him as a streaky putter. When he's hot, it's like, whew, everything's going in here. And when he's not, you can just see his body language when watching on TV, and you can just say, oh, he's not going to hold this.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at like Tiger in his pomp, you're like, that's in. I know it's in. I mean, I can think of like 3 or 4 putts. Rocker Mediate, US Open, holding that putt there. It never looked anywhere else. And nobody all day had hold it from there. I just hope that he can take that stigma away from him not being as good a putter and transfer that into a win.
Yeah, but so I have this theory about Augusta that, and feel free to shoot me down in flames. But I feel like it's the second shot golf course. The only way to score well is to get your ball in exactly the right position on the greens. So you can be above the hole and down grain, and you could be Brad Faxon and you ain't going to hold it, or you're not going. The only way you're going to hold it is if it steams into the back of the hole. Whereas if you're putting consistently uphill into the grain, you're going to make your share. And don't forget, you don't have to make everything.
No,
the winning scores there, they've come down a bit. I mean, it's around about between the 12 and 15 under mark, maybe a little bit less, somewhere in that region. So I don't think you have to hold absolutely everything. But if you're driving it well and you're putting the ball into the right place on the greens with your second shots, then I don't think you have to be the world's best putter to contend at Augusta. As I say, feel free, everyone, to shoot it down.
I'm not. I agree with you there. I'm not shooting. I never thought of it like that, to be honest. So it's almost like, I'd say, because it is such a based on your second shot, because it's like they say there's greens within greens, that it's potentially maybe not as much of a putting comp as a normal PGA Tour event or European Tour event is.
No, because what you often see in the coverage is people chipping from the wrong places or putting from the wrong places, and the greens are brutal when you're in the wrong places. So they look so scary. You just think, God, you've got to be an amazing putter to play well here. But the point that you're missing in those situations sometimes is they're just putting from the wrong place. You could be 6 foot away, but be in the wrong place, and you're in 3-putt country.
I wouldn't want to test my putting on there, if I'm honest. Have you been, Neil? Have you been?
I've been 3 times. Yeah, I've been very lucky. I've managed to go 3 times. So I went 2006 with Mike, went 2007. So my first 2 were Zach Johnson and Trevor Immelman. And then I went the year that Phil Mickelson won when he hit the shot out of the pine straw.
Oh, yeah, that is a shot for the ages.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, this is a terrible piece of sort of self-congratulatory nonsense, but I managed to play it that year as well because I came out. Yeah,
you've kept that quiet all the times that we do in these videos. You've kept that quiet.
You must be the only person who doesn't know this. I tend to try and tell everybody whenever I can, but yeah, I came out of the media ballot to play it. I think it was it 2010? I think when Mickelson won. So yeah, I got the chance to play it, which was every bit as good as you think it would be.
So you were playing it on the Monday after the Sunday. So same pins as the final round?
Same pins, yeah. That pin where the flag is at the bottom in 16, where you can hit it up the slope and it comes down, or in my case, just hit it up the slope and it stays there. Yeah, so all of the usual Sunday pins. It was, I mean, it's just like, it was phenomenal.
What's Amen Corner like? Something I've never actually asked the question, actually.
Yeah, well, Amen Corner is, the whole experience of Augusta, I would describe, is that you know it so well from the TV. You know it, you just know it so well. And then you get there and it's exactly as you imagine it. It's very difficult to, it's almost like you're looking at it through your TV set, or you're looking at a picture or a painting. You get there and it's absolutely perfect. It's framed as you imagine it. You get over the hill at 11, you look down and you see the green at 11, and then you see 12, and you start to see 13 go around the corner. You just think, wow, that's it. That's Amen Corner there. You just can't believe your eyes. It's one of the reasons I think that if you're a rookie going to Augusta, it's very difficult, because you spend half your time just wandering around going, I can't believe I'm here.
Yeah.
Even if you are a professional golfer trying to do all the right things, I'm sure half the time you're taking photographs and thinking, wow, look at that. Yeah.
Because everybody who gets there, no matter as a player, they are a golf fan at heart anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everyone's exactly. And yeah, and Augusta just has every single hole you can remember. You know, you can picture every single hole as you're standing there. And it is as perfect as people say. It's as undulating as often people say. You know, it's surprising how hilly it is. Yeah, but I was expecting that, because I'd heard that comment so many times. Yeah. It's a phenomenal place. It really is. What
do you think it'll be like in November? Like, I just can't picture having the Masters in November. It just screams April, nice flowers, start of spring, and then they're going, it's pretty much in the middle of winter.
Yeah, I know. But listen, Alex, I don't know. They're all magicians there anyway.
Yeah,
so if they say they're gonna do it in November and they've pinpointed a week in the diary for it, it will be amazing. Who knows what they will do to get it right, but it will be fantastic. So I should think it will be I reckon if they do manage to get it done in November, it will be one of the great Masters, because we will be so grateful for it.
Yeah.
And it will just be phenomenal. It'll be fantastic for all the players to be there. It'll be great for us all watching it on TV. It'll be wonderful.
Okay, who's your winner now? Who's your winner?
Winner will be Jon Rahm. Rahm is just next cab off the rank, I think, for a major. And I know, Jon Rahm tends to hit a fairly, I think his preferred shot shape is a fade. So maybe you'd say that isn't necessarily the shape around Augusta, but
it's so long though.
Yeah, but he just loves the stage, and there is no greater stage in golf than the Masters. So any player that rises to the challenge of the atmosphere of the stage is always going to be a dangerous contender. And he's played well there. I think his first year, his rookie year, he wasn't a million miles away. He was certainly in the TV coverage on the final day. Yeah. So
you're pretty good if you're in the TV coverage there. You know you're doing well.
Yeah, and he's got that sort of Spanish history with it all. It resonates with the Spaniards as much as it resonates with us. So I think he'd be dead up for it. And when you take somebody that's that talented and that good, and then you give him the kind of bit between his teeth, I think he'd be a very difficult man to stop. So yeah.
I like that shout. I like that shout. Now, running up to that, I'm just reading the PGA Tour schedule here. They confirmed that they're going to have on August 3rd to August the 9th PGA Championship. And then we've got the Wyndham, 10th to 16th. We've got the Northern Trust, 17th to the 23rd of August. BMW Championship, 24th to 30th. And then the Tour Champs, 31st of September, leading up to US Open and end of September. And then the Ryder Cup. Does that happen? Like, what do you think? Does that actually go ahead in August?
Oh, I hope so. I really hope so. I mean, I think they've done the right thing in terms of trying to come up with a revised schedule. But ultimately, all of this stuff is in the hands of the scientists and the medical advisors and everything else. So, wouldn't it be great if they did? I think they've done the right thing, because even if it doesn't happen, they're kind of trying to set an agenda. They're trying to create. They're trying to be honest with people and say to people, this is how it's going to happen if we manage to get these restrictions lifted. Whether or not there might be things they can do. There might be events behind closed doors, perhaps, if they feel like they can do it, if they feel like it's necessary. Who knows? My concern, I guess, would be for the international players. I mean, who knows what the state of international travel will be come August. I mean, let's hope we're all traveling, we're all flying again. But I just worry, with this virus hitting different territories at different times, it's difficult for me to imagine a time at which we're all suddenly just bang able to go out and fly freely. But who knows? I really hope so. It'd be great. It would be, what's been interesting, sorry, I'm rambling, but what has been interesting through this period is just how much sport means to people.
Oh, no.
In one sense, it's the most meaningless thing right now, because we're stood outside clapping the NHS and really appreciating and really trying to get behind our key workers. So you just think, well, sport is of zero consequence in the grand scheme of things. And then you take another look at it and you think, but this is what keeps people going. The sport is one of those things that it's people's passions and their hobbies. It's actually one of those things that really keeps people kind of going. So yeah, it's really struck home to me during this period how important sport is. And you've seen it in the golf community, people pulling together, to try and help each other through this period. It's been really good to see. So yeah, sorry, I'm rambling, but
no.
Yeah.
Funny you say that. My girlfriend's a massive City fan. She'll probably hate me for saying this, but she was saying that they can't play the Premier League behind closed doors, probably for one reason in her mind, that she just want Liverpool to win, but also another reason, it proves that without the fans at football games, with these high costs, that the football is really nothing without the fans. And I guess golf is the same. Like, you imagine playing the US Open, Augusta, Open Championship next year, or whenever it actually happens now. Imagine playing that without any fans. It would be bizarre.
Bit bizarre. I totally agree. Have you ever seen a football match seen footage of a football match behind closed doors? It's weird.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, that someone scores a goal and they go run off to celebrate, and there's like, you could hear a pin drop.
Yeah, just looking around, no one's there.
It's weird. Yeah, I totally agree. But we are in, I know it's been said a billion times, we are in unprecedented times. Who knows?
Okay, on to our next thing. And this is what we really wanted to talk about. And I know we spoke about this off air. The Ryder Cup. Okay, we're going to say it's going ahead and everything's much better in the world. How do you pick your team? You've only going to have a handful of events before. You had a handful of events afterwards, this pandemic. How do you pick your team? Do you go with people that you can rely on? For example, last Ryder Cup when he picked Garcia, or do you go, right, okay, we're going to go on the world's top 10, or we're going to go on the world? What do you do?
Yeah, well, it's the $1 million question, isn't it? I think it's going to be vitally important to go on form, isn't it? Because people are going to come back. Some people are going to be super rusty. Other players are going to have been able to, presumably during this period, have been practicing and getting themselves into good shape. So once the kind of automatic places are kind of decided, then once you get to a point where you're picking a team, I think you have to pick it by form. But then there's a load of other ingredients as well, because you've got to have the experienced players who are going to be able to cope with being out in the US. And then you also need your rookies. Every successful Ryder Cup team needs a really good injection of energy and fire and kind of that sort of youthful buzz that comes with having good rookies on a team. So all of those ingredients are still important. But I think form is going to be the most important one this time round for sure, more so than usual.
Okay, so we got, I put this out on Twitter earlier. Fraser Beach has said this is what he'd start of his team. Poulter, which stalwart of the Ryder Cup. I just think of Medina. Anytime I think of Poulter, is Medina, his eyes popping out his head.
Yeah.
McIlroy, no brainer. I think you 100% he'll be in the team. Garcia, Rose, Ram, Fleetwood, Molinari, Stenson are the ones that he'd be looking at. What do you think of that?
Molinari, Stenson. Well, I mean, Molinari's quite a long way out, isn't he? Fleetwood was mentioned. What about Tyrrell? What about Westwood? Was Westwood in there?
Westwood wasn't in there, no.
Well, Westwood, I mean, you know, he won the biggest or one of the biggest events pre-lockdown, didn't he? And he's got all the experience that you need. You know, he is one of our most experienced Ryder Cuppers. I interviewed Ian Poulter over the phone a couple of weeks ago, and he is so up for trying to make this Ryder Cup team, really? as you'd expect. But he really wants. I mean, I think we might have spoken about this before. I feel like his performance at Medina is up there with one of the greatest of all time golfing performances. So I think someone like him, he might retire having not won a major, but he's always got what he did at Medina, and I think that's up there with the greatest achievements that any British golfer has ever achieved. And I think that makes him want it even more. Sergio, I mean, who knows? I mean, Sergio could get himself in there. It's going to be a fantastic European team though. When you look at it, when you look at Fleetwood, obviously Molinari, if he can get himself close, is going to be a likely pick because you're going to want to put Fleetwood and Molinari together, aren't you?
After their heroics, you can't not have them together. Yeah,
exactly. Justin will need to find his form fairly quickly coming back. Rory and Rahm are going to be, they're going to be nailed on Ryder Cuppers for many years to come. So I mean, it's going to be a brilliant side. There's a load that are just kind of waiting in the wings as well, who could easily go in there. We always say this though, don't we? You look at the Americans and then you list their team and you look at Koepka and Thomas and Spieth would be quite a long way out in the running at the moment. And you look at their youngsters coming through like Matt Wolff and Colin Morikawa, and you just think like they're going to have a fantastic team as well. So who knows? Whichever side has the most players that come back out of lockdown and hit the ground running will be the team to beat.
I agree. And in terms of like rookies, who were you thinking? Like, could Pepperell? He had a pretty good season last year. Great ball striker. Would Matt Fitzpatrick get another call up? Because all these guys, I think, if we're looking at it on form, you're going to have a lot of guys that are going to be like, right, okay, well, I've got a chance to potentially get into a Ryder Cup squad that I may not have had a chance to get into. Prove to a captain that I'm in absolutely tip-top hot form for 2 months or 3 months, say, or not even that, 2 or 3 weeks, because if it starts in August, the team's will be picked by the end of August. You could get yourself into a team where you may never have before.
Don't forget Victor Hovland as well. I mean, talk about somebody who's ready and waiting to go, isn't he? He's just absolutely primed and waiting to go. It'd be great to get Eddie Pepperell in there, wouldn't it? I think he'd be a fantastic Ryder Cupper. The sort of character that would really bring people together, make everyone laugh, and kind of create that sense of team that you're looking for. But then there's also players that would be further down the rankings, really talented youngsters coming through, people like Guido Migliozzi.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic golfer, and he will be knocking on the door of that Ryder Cup in Italy for sure.
It's going to be a tough decision, isn't it? Like, to pick your team, how would you do it? Because no matter who he picks, as however they decide to do it, whether it's on ranking, form, whatever, if someone doesn't perform, and I don't want to ever say this, I always hope people do perform, but if someone doesn't perform, it's all going to come down to the captain picking them. And like for example, if Garcia didn't perform in France, it would have been, that was the worst pick ever.
Yeah.
I do not envy the decisions that you've got to make.
I know, and part of me thinks that's why often they just go for almost the next 3 players on the rankings, because it's just you feel like you're going to be shot down if you go for someone a little bit further out. Also, Alex, don't forget, Shane Lowry's never played in a Ryder Cup before.
Wow.
Believe it or not.
Yeah. Wow. I can't believe he'd be saying he'd be a rookie.
Yeah, he will be the current Open champion in September or when it was, or whenever it's going to be played, and end of September. So yeah, it's going to be a fantastic European side, isn't it?
Definitely. Well, I just hope it goes ahead. Are you guys looking to go to that? Are you going to be going if it goes ahead?
No, I personally don't think. Well, who knows? But don't think I'll be going. That's not to say that Golf Monthly won't have somebody there. But so yeah, I mean, I know that Whistling Straits is going to be an amazing venue for it. So it's very, very tempting to try and get myself out there for it, because it will be a fantastic venue, and it won't be. I don't think it will be a typical US Ryder Cup venue. You know, it's gonna be a little bit more. It's going to be a bit faster and firmer. You know, with those waste areas there, it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be a typical US Ryder Cup venue.
No, because usually I think of Ryder Cup venue, typical, it is wide open, it's long, you've got to bomb it, the rough's up if you go a certain distance off the fairway, but they pretty much make it into their hands, don't they? As we do. It's a fair statement.
Yeah, but this is why it's an interesting choice, because I think with this one, you know, naturally the golf course doesn't have as much rough. It just has these big waste areas. But I guess that suits the bombers as well, because you just sort of smash it and then you kind of deal with the consequences later down the line. But I think that's a little bit overplayed, because you look at our side, Rory hits it further than just about everybody. Rahm hits it country mile. You know, and the rest of them hit it plenty far enough. I mean, you look at someone like Hovland. I mean, he hits it miles.
Oh my God.
You know, Rose hits it far enough. Fleetwood hits it far enough. Lowry's long. You know, there's none of them that are short.
No, exactly. Now, I know you mentioned Lee Westwood before. Coming off that massive win earlier in the year, I actually think that he had a chance. If we played the Masters this week, he had a chance of doing something, because he always does quite well at the Masters, and he's never won that major. But he almost looks like he's got a new lease of life. Not in the sense, he just looks more confident, and everybody talks about his putting, and that's his Achilles heel. I don't personally think he's a bad putter. I just think because he's so quite steady, he has quite a lot of opportunities, and we see it more often than, say, other players that are not scrambling, but a bit more flair in the game.
Yeah, he's got a great record at Augusta. Fantastic record there. And it's a second shot golf course. Don't forget.
Exactly. Heard it here first.
And so without, again, terrible name drop, I interviewed Westwood yesterday morning. We had a Skype conversation. And as you said, he's definitely got that air of someone who feels like he doesn't really have anything left to prove to himself. I know that he's got this thing on his back where he's never won a major, but don't forget, he's been world number one. He's won just about everything else in the game. And I think he's probably really quite happy with what he's achieved in golf. He seems relaxed on the golf course, and he seems able to kind of, not that he wasn't before, but he just does seem to be in a great place mentally. And I think when you get a top golfer who's mentally in a great place, it's a dangerous combo, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, you know, he does hold his fair share of putts, and he's got a great long game. And as long as he does that, he'll always have a chance.
I think he'll win a major. I do, before he ends his career, whether that be Champions Tour or hopefully on the main tour as it is now. I think he'll win a major. I think for me, he's too good not to.
Yeah, for sure. He's got it. He's probably the best player never to have won one now, isn't he? But he's probably looking at what Darren Clarke did at St George's.
Exactly.
Maybe he was eyeing up this year at St George's. Now maybe eyeing up next year at St George's, saying I could do what Darren did. So that'd be a nice story.
And I know you've been name dropping. No, I'm only joking.
Yeah, I have. Sorry.
No, I'm joking. Who has been? I actually want to know this question. Who has been the best person you've interviewed? What's been the most memorable one at Golf Monthly for you? Okay,
so I'm gonna say two.
Okay.
So, and again, this is just awful, but I have interviewed Tiger.
He's off again.
I'm off again. Sorry. Yeah, I interviewed Tiger a few years ago now. It was just after the big Tiger scandal. So it was not long after that. It was when he came back to golf after everything that happened. And it was set up through Nike, and we did it in Dubai. And it was an interview purely about his golf game, how he developed his golf game as a youngster growing up. And it was a really surreal experience. You know, it's like nothing else I've done. So it was in a hospitality suite behind the 9th green at the Emirates course in Dubai. And I was just sat opposite him. He was sat on a sofa. I'm just sat right there with him and asking him all these questions about growing up and how he developed his game. And he was great. The answers he gave were fantastic. I know that, you know, it was an interview that came through Nike, and I was not asking him any questions that he didn't particularly, you know, want to answer, anything like that. And it just goes to show you, actually, as a member of the media, sometimes you sit on a press conference and they get asked so many questions that they're just never going to answer. They're really, you know, trying to get a response out of them. Whereas if you ask them questions almost a bit more from the perspective of what do golf fans want to find out about, then actually he opened up and he was great. It was a really good interview. He came across really well. And then the other one was with Rory. But this one was a day, again, it was set up through Nike, and we did a gym session together, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. So it was after Rory kind of completely changed his body shape and got himself into the fitness side of things massively. And Nike set up this day in a gym in central London where a few different social media influencers and journalists joined him for a gym session and really put us through our paces. Like couldn't walk properly for about 5 days afterwards. It was intense. And then from there, we got this little transfer across the Thames to a hotel where we interviewed Rory about his game. And you know, I've just been writing about it for Golf Monthly because we've got a piece going in the next issue, a big Rory piece going into the next issue about what it's like to interview him, because I've done it a few times over the years. And he is just, I mean, he's just a really, it sounds awful, but he's a really sound bloke. He always answers the questions. He never tries to just palm you off and give you a safe answer. He's always trying to think of things that he could say to you that were going to be interesting. And he just comes across really well, and he shoulders so much of the responsibility in golf for promoting golf. You know, every tournament he goes to, he does so many media interviews, so many press conferences. Everyone's taking his photograph. All the fans want a selfie or an autograph, whatever it is. And he just takes it all in his stride. And I know that it must be a massive strain on him, but yeah, he's a really top ambassador for the game, for sure.
I love that. They're two great stories. They just got a question coming in live from YouTube. What's been the most memorable article? So Mike actually mentioned one the other day about one that's coming up about a guy that golf basically saved his life. He said that was like the best one that he can remember. It's not gone up yet, but I think it's in the next issue that's coming out.
Yeah.
What would be yours?
Well, I for sure, over the years, the ones that I've probably enjoyed the most would be I think his job title is editor at large. His name's Bill Elliott. He's one of the sort of brigade of golf journalists who's been doing it for many, many years, and he's just been there, seen it, done it. He really has an amazing way of putting everything into context. He's just a phenomenal writer. So anyone who's interested in writing in particular and golf as well, pick up a copy of Golf Monthly and search out Bill Elliott's writing. He's just such a good writer. He really brings the game to life in a fantastic way. I mean, he went to something like, Bill, forgive me if you see this, but he went to something like 29 consecutive Masters tournaments.
Oh my God.
And just the stories about, you know, having been there from the early stages when it wasn't such a massive, colossal event as it is now, and the things that he saw and the players that he hung out with. You know, he was pretty close, pretty friendly with Seve, pretty friendly with some of the other players as well. And his writing in general would be, and probably for me, his Masters previews year after year, they just send an absolute, you know, shiver down the spine. It's really sort of spine tingling stuff reading Bill's writing about the Masters. So again, sorry, you know, it's you know, nightmare timing talking about the kind of getting people excited about the Masters, isn't it? But let's hope we get to run Bill's Masters preview for people to read it before it actually happens, because it's just his writing is fantastic. So yeah.
Perfect. I love that. Okay, final question. This is what I ask everybody that come on the show. Fantasy golfer. Okay, so we're talking, you've got to pick a driver swing, an iron swing, a short game, so that's like chipping and pitching, and then a putting action to make up your fantasy player.
Nice. So Rory driving.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if you could swing it like anyone, you'd swing it. I'd swing it like Rory.
110%. 100%.
Iron play, it would be either Sergio or Tiger, but I'd probably have to go for Tiger. Those stories in, I think it's Hank Haney's book, where he does the 9 ball flights, where he does the low, medium, high, low draw, high draw, blah blah blah, 9 ball flights, and how he was able to do that. It's got to be Tiger, isn't it? I mean, just the ball striking, phenomenal.
Distance control, absolutely everything. He's got it.
Pitching action. I really like Poulter's pitching action. It's such an even tempo. There's no rush through the ball. It's the absolute opposite of what I do. You know, instead of like attacking it with everything you've got and just hoping that you don't, knife it, he's just got such an even flow through the golf ball. But there might be
credit for that, does he? He probably doesn't get as much credit for his pitching as he should do, and his short game Poulter, I don't think.
No, exactly. But he's an absolute. I mean, there might be somebody. They just was who sprung to mind. Am I missing anything, or is it just putting now?
Putting now. So you got one more putting. So you've got Rory, Tiger, Poulter, and then who's putting you going with?
Well, it would have been Speed's putting, but
we were speaking about this in the week, actually, weren't we? When we did that last year.
Yeah. He's got a phenomenal putting technique. I mean, in terms of, if you were going to draw somebody from scratch and say, this is how you putt, he just looks like it can never go wrong and can never break down. And I think there are possibly other things that are costing him over his putting at the moment. So from a sort of technical standpoint, I think I'd have to go for Spieth. It's just, technically, it's just so solid, isn't it? It's just, he looks like he was born to have a putter in his hands. The posture's perfect. The stroke itself is kind of, it's not too long and kind of, it's got purpose to it, but it's also got lots of feel and flow to it.
The putter looks like it. Like if he took his hands away, the putter just fits in his hands, just like it was meant to be there. Is what when you look at him, it just doesn't look like he's holding it awkwardly or fitting himself around the putter. The putter fits to him. Yeah,
exactly. So, I think I'd probably go with him. Is there anything else, Chipper? Was that no?
Oh, you've done it. You've gone. So you've gone Rory, Tiger, Poulter, and Spieth.
All modern day players. So I maybe should have given that a bit more thought. But yeah, no, I'd be happy with that combo.
No, I'd be happy with that combo as well. Thanks very much for your time tonight. I really appreciate it, Neil.
Pleasure. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you very much. And guys, if you did enjoy all this content, please make sure you do hit that subscribe button, as well as checking out all the Golf Monthly videos that me and Neil have done and much more down below on their channel. Thanks so much, and we'll see you again tomorrow at 7 p.m.